I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo.
Welcome back to the English Blend. We make learning English feel natural and easy.
Exactly. Today, we are tackling a really common problem, especially for those of you using English at work.
You know that feeling, right? You're in a meeting, maybe on a video call, and you have a great idea.
A truly brilliant idea, but then you hesitate.
You stop yourself because you think, oh no, is my grammar perfect?
Or maybe, how do I say this without sounding rude or too direct?
That fear of sounding impolite or the worry about getting the words perfectly right, that's what blocks so many people.
So today's episode is titled, How to Give Opinions Politely at Work.
We're going to talk about how to move past that fear, embrace fluency over accuracy, and get your point across gently.
Exactly. So grab your coffee and let's get started.
Let's dive straight in, Leo. When we talk about speaking up at work, there are two big concerns for English learners.
One is the technical side. Is my sentence structure correct? That's accuracy.
And the other is the social side. Am I using the right tone? Am I being polite enough?
Often people focus so much on the accuracy, the perfect grammar, that they completely lose their fluency.
And when we talk about fluency, we don't mean speaking like a native speaker who never makes a mistake.
No, definitely not. Fluency for us means communication. It means being able to speak smoothly without long pauses so that the person listening understands your main message.
Fluency is about flow, not perfection. That's our key takeaway for today.
Imagine you are talking about a project deadline. If you pause for 30 seconds to make sure you use the perfect conditional tense, you've lost the conversational momentum.
You've broken the flow. The listener is probably thinking, what happened? Did the connection drop?
That delay, that focus on the small grammar rules, that's what we mean when we say grammar can actually block fluency.
It's the constant internal editing, isn't it? You have the message ready, but your brain is stopping you to say, wait, should I use have been working or worked?
And by the time you choose, the meeting has moved on to the next topic. You missed your chance to contribute.
Exactly. So how does this relate to giving polite opinions?
Well, giving an opinion, especially one that disagrees with the boss or a colleague, requires confidence.
If you are already worried about saying, the cat jumped the fence instead of the cat jumped the fence, how can you manage the stress of saying, I disagree with the Q3 budget plan?
It's like trying to navigate a narrow road while simultaneously checking every single tire pressure. It's too much stress at once.
That's a great analogy, Leo. We need to stop checking the tire pressure. Just drive the car. Get the message out.
And the beautiful thing about politeness in English is that it often relies on simple chunks of language, not complex grammar.
You don't need a perfect past participle to soften a disagreement. You need a good softening phrase.
Let's look at a practical situation. You are at work, and your colleague suggests an idea you think is too expensive.
The direct, non-polite way, which might sound rude in a professional context, would be, that idea is too expensive. It won't work.
Oof, very direct, very definite, and maybe a bit aggressive depending on the tone.
Now, let's use fluency over perfection. We are going to use a simple phrase to soften it up.
How about, that's an interesting suggestion, but I wonder if we could look at the cost.
Or, even simpler, I see your point, but I have a slight concern about the budget.
Notice the key words there. Interesting suggestion, I wonder, slight concern. These are not complicated grammar structures. They are just polite phrases.
We call these hedges, or softeners. They give you a shield, protecting you from sounding overly aggressive.
This is where fluency shines. If you know those chunks, those ready-made phrases, you don't have to build the sentence from scratch every time.
You just plug in the ready-made polite opening, and then you follow up with your specific opinion.
Let's talk more about that relationship between accuracy and fluency, Mia. Why is it so hard for people to just let the mistakes go?
I think it's often tied to school. We are trained that a perfect score means success, and a grammar mistake means -1 point.
Right. We associate mistakes with failure, not with learning.
But communication isn't a test. If I say, yesterday I go shopping, you understand me perfectly well.
Of course, the accurate sentence is yesterday I went shopping, but the fluent sentence yesterday I go shopping still conveys 100% of the meaning.
And in a fast-paced work environment, 100% understanding is better than 0% participation because you were striving for 100% grammatical accuracy.
Think of it this way. Fluency is the engine of the car. Accuracy is the paint job. You need the engine to get where you're going. The paint job just makes it look nicer.
We want to encourage learners, especially at the A2, B2 level, to prioritize the engine. Get your thoughts moving.
Let's connect this back to politeness, Mia. Because sometimes when you are trying to be fluent and fast, you might accidentally sound too direct.
That's a real cultural note we need to discuss. In some cultures, directness is valued as clarity and efficiency.
But in many English-speaking workplace cultures, especially in the US or the UK, extreme directness without softening can be interpreted as rude or demanding.
It's not about avoiding disagreement. It's about wrapping the disagreement in a layer of respect.
Here's a short story to illustrate this. I once worked with a very talented engineer from abroad.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
He was excellent at his job, incredibly accurate. But in meetings, he would often say things like, "Your idea is wrong. It won't work."
Oof, no. That's tough feedback to hear, even if it's technically true.
Exactly. He thought he was being efficient and accurate, focusing only on the technical result. But his colleagues started avoiding him because they perceived his tone as hostile.
He was communicating the what, but missing the how.
The solution wasn't to change his technical assessment, it was to change the phrase he used.
Instead of, your idea is wrong, what could he have said using a simple, polite chunk?
Maybe, "I appreciate that idea, but based on the data, I predict a few difficulties we need to solve first."
Perfect. He's still got his point across. That's our first useful idiom. To get your point across means successfully communicating your main message so the listener understands it.
Even if his grammar was shaky on the subordinate clauses, if he uses the polite opening, "I appreciate that idea," he has successfully navigated the social environment. He got his point across politely.
That phrase, get your point across, is so useful. It shifts the goal from saying it perfectly to saying it effectively.
We need to remember that at work, communication is effectiveness. It's not an exam grade.
Let's move on to some super practical tips that learners can use starting tomorrow to improve their speaking confidence in professional settings.
I love practical tips. Let's give them tools they can use instantly.
Practical tip number 1, the sandwich technique. This is a classic for giving polite but critical opinions.
A sandwich? Like bread and filling?
Exactly. Think of your critical opinion as the filling, the meat of the message. You need to wrap it in 2 pieces of polite, positive bread.
So, positive comment, then the critical suggestion, then another positive or encouraging comment.
That's it. For example, if a colleague gives a presentation that was very boring, you shouldn't just say, "That was boring."
That would be the filling without any bread.
The sandwich version would be, "That presentation had some really strong data points. Bread 1, positive." However, I suggest we use more visual aids next time to keep the audience engaged, filling or critique. But overall, I think this project has huge potential. Bread 2, positive.
I love that. It shows respect for their effort while still providing constructive feedback. It allows you to get your point across without bruising feelings.
It's professional, and it uses simple linking words like however or on the other hand.
That leads perfectly into practical tip number 2. Use modal verbs to reduce certainty.
Modal verbs are your best friends when you want to sound polite. We're talking about words like could, might, maybe, perhaps.
Direct opinions use strong verbs and certainty. We must do this. This is the only way.
Modal verbs use modals to soften that certainty. Instead of saying, we must change the marketing strategy, which sounds very demanding,
You say, perhaps we could consider adjusting the marketing strategy.
or I think we might get better results if we focus on social media.
The word might instantly reduces the severity. You are offering a suggestion, not issuing an order.
And often learners feel like they are weakening their opinion by using these words.
They worry if they say might, they won't sound confident.
But in English, especially in a professional setting, using these modals shows high confidence in social skills, which is often more valued than absolute technical certainty.
Absolutely. Confidence isn't just about what you know, it's about how you manage the conversation.
Let's move to a situation where you are facing a massive roadblock. This leads us to our second idiom.
Oh, I think I know which one. When things get tough, when the project stops moving.
Exactly. Sometimes you try to communicate, you try to give your opinion, and the other person just isn't listening, or the problem is too big. You hit a wall.
To hit a wall means to reach a point where no further progress seems possible. You've encountered an insurmountable barrier.
For example, we tried 3 different solutions for the supply chain problem, but we keep hitting a wall because of the raw material costs.
In a meeting, if you offer your opinion 3 times and the manager ignores it, you might feel like you've hit a wall in terms of influence.
So, practical tip number 3, know when to pivot.
If you've hit a wall with one approach, don't keep banging your head against it. Change your approach or change the context.
If they're ignoring your suggestion in the big group meeting, try saying, "That's fine. Maybe I can send you a detailed memo after the meeting to follow up on my specific point."
That's a great pivot. It shows you respect the current flow of the meeting, but ensures your opinion is still recorded and addressed later.
This uses simple language, focuses on communication, fluency, and respects the professional environment, politeness.
Okay, let's go back to our core theme, fluency over perfection. We said that grammar often blocks people.
It's the fear of that mistake, the paralyzing thought that if I make an error, everyone will think I'm unprofessional or unintelligent.
And we need to remind everyone that even native speakers make mistakes. We switch tenses, we use run-on sentences, we use fragmented clauses constantly.
The goal is not to eliminate mistakes. The goal is to communicate through them.
And this brings us to practical tip number 4. Embrace the 3-second rule.
I like this. Tell us about the 3-second rule, Leo.
The 3-second rule means when you have something to say and you feel that internal grammar checker activating, give yourself a maximum of 3 seconds to formulate the opening of the sentence.
And if you can't think of the perfect opening in those 3 seconds?
You force yourself to say the imperfect, slightly clumsy sentence. You prioritize momentum over grammar.
Because that flow, that momentum, is what makes you sound fluent, even if you make a tiny error. It keeps the conversation alive.
And usually, the context takes care of the small mistakes. If you say, last week I meet with the client, everyone knows you mean met. The communication is successful. You got your point across.
This is particularly helpful when using those polite chunks we discussed. If you pause too long trying to find the perfect synonym for disagree, you lose your chance. But if you practice the chunks, I have a slight concern. I appreciate that idea. They pop out instantly, using up only maybe 1 second. And you have 2 more seconds to formulate the core of your opinion. It's a game changer for confidence.
Let's talk about the aftermath of giving an opinion, especially a critical one. Sometimes you gave your best suggestion using the sandwich method and modal verbs, and it's still rejected.
That can be discouraging. You worry that maybe you didn't explain it clearly, or maybe your English skills caused the rejection.
This is where we need our third idiom. It's not the end of the world.
A brilliant phrase. To say it's not the end of the world means that the situation, while perhaps disappointing or difficult, is not catastrophic. It's manageable.
Maybe your boss says, "Thanks for the suggestion, Mia, but we're going with Leo's plan." It stings a little, right?
Yes, but you can mentally tell yourself, okay, they didn't take my idea, but it's not the end of the world. I still spoke up, I used great polite language, and I'll try again next time.
The key is separating the rejection of the idea from the quality of your English. They rejected the concept, not your competence as a speaker.
Often, people stop participating entirely because they believe a rejected idea means they failed at English communication.
But remember, if you use the polite chunks, if you use the modal verbs, you succeeded socially. You succeeded at the communication goal regardless of the outcome of the idea.
And sometimes you need to use a slightly more assertive phrase when you really believe in your point, but still keep it polite.
How do we step up the assertiveness while keeping the professionalism intact?
We use phrases that confirm your belief while still inviting dialogue. Practical tip number 5. Confirm and invite.
Instead of saying, "I disagree," try this. "I understand your position completely, but my firm belief is that approach A is safer because of X, Y, and Z. What are your thoughts on that safety factor?"
You confirm their understanding. I understand your position. Then you state your opinion. My firm belief is, and then you immediately invite them back into the discussion. What are your thoughts on that safety factor?
It prevents the statement from becoming a final confrontation. It keeps the conversation going. It shows you want to collaborate, not simply dominate.
This is essential for A2 and B2 learners because they are already building those core sentences. Just add the polite framing around them.
Let's quickly summarize our core ideas and tips for giving opinions politely at work.
First, fluency over accuracy. Focus on getting your message out smoothly and quickly. Don't let grammar checks block your contribution. Communication is the priority.
Second, use the sandwich technique to deliver critical feedback gently. Positive comment, critique, positive comment.
Third, rely heavily on modal verbs like could and might to soften the certainty of your statements and maintain politeness.
Fourth, use the 3-second rule to push past internal editing and maintain the flow of conversation, demonstrating real-time fluency.
And don't forget our key idioms. We want you to successfully get your point across.
If things aren't working, remember, sometimes you will hit a wall, and that's okay. Because if your idea is rejected or you make a mistake, remember, it's not the end of the world. Every attempt is practice.
Practice using those polite chunks daily. They are like armor for your opinions.
Start practicing them in low-stakes situations, like when ordering coffee or talking to a friend, so they feel natural when you need them in a high-stakes meeting.
Because feeling natural is what builds confidence, and confidence is the secret weapon for real fluency.
We really hope these tips help you feel more comfortable speaking up and contributing your brilliant ideas in your workplace.
That was a great talk, Leo. I feel like we really emphasized the importance of communication over perfection today.
Yes, absolutely. We need to empower our listeners to speak, even if the result isn't perfect grammar.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to The English Blend. We release new episodes every week.
Next time, we are going to dive into the world of small talk, how to survive the water cooler conversation in English. Don't miss it.
See you next time on The English Blend.
Bye, everyone. Keep practicing.